The second spirochete disease that affects humans is the Leptospira. Okay, Leptospira cause a disease called leptospirosis. There's one main species of Leptospira that infect humans. It's called Leptospira interrogans. Leptospira interrogans is a zoonotic disease, and this spirochete is carried in specifically in animal urine. So only found shed through the urine of an animal like a squirrel, a raccoon, a mouse. Okay, they shed that way. So the way humans get this disease is through ingesting the animal urine. And you might think, gross, that would never happen. Well, where it can happen is when you see anywhere with stagnant water. So if you see a pond or a small lake, or like you have a fountain outside, and usually somebody maybe goes swimming in this pond and they accidentally ingest some of the water, or more frequently in a young child that's playing outside and they don't know better and they drink out of this fountain that has this animal urine, or if you have a pet, a dog especially, and your dog likes to drink stagnant water out of a pond or out of a little puddle, that's bad. You don't ever want your dog to drink stagnant water. I know when I'm walking my dog, he always tries to drink it, but it's bad. Don't let them do it, because this spirochete can affect humans and animals. There is actually a vaccine for dogs, a leptospirosis vaccine, available. Now, what this disease does is it's going to cause initially flu-like symptoms like sudden fever, chills, headache, muscle ache. The thing about the spirochete is it can lay dormant, and this particular one will affect the kidneys and liver if it lays dormant in the body. Now, luckily, we don't see many cases of this in the United States. We only see about 50 to 60 cases a year because most people don't go out drinking stagnant water. Okay, this disease is much more common in your pets. The final spirochete are the Borrelia, the genus Borrelia. There's two Borrelia that can infect humans. The first is Borrelia hermsii. It causes a disease called relapsing fever. The second is Borrelia burgdorferi, which causes Lyme disease. Both of these diseases spread from arthropod vector to human, okay, usually a tick or even a flea to a human. The key virulence factor with all Borrelia, okay, what makes these Borrelia so pathogenic is that they can change their surface antigens. So as soon as your immune system makes antibodies against the bacteria to try to kill it, the bacteria will change their surface antigens so that these antibodies no longer affect it. And then the bacteria can persist in the body forever, or for a very, very long time. That's why we don't have a vaccine, for Lyme disease. It's very difficult to treat these spirochetes. They can lay dormant, they can hide in the body, and they can evade antibiotics also in that way. So the first Borrelia to talk about is Borrelia hermsii, which causes a disease called relapsing fever. Okay, so how this disease works is when a person first contracts the Borrelia, it spreads specifically by ticks. So the person will first get a very high fever. I'm talking like 106 degrees Fahrenheit, very high. The body will produce antibodies against the Borrelia and the fever will go down, but the fever will relapse. It'll come back because the Borrelia will change its surface antigens, so these initial antibodies can't attach to it. Again, the body will produce more antibodies to try to counteract this new Borrelia, and the fever will go down. So what you really see is this cycle of fever drop for a long period of time, months. Treating this Borrelia is extremely difficult because they can evade the immune system. They can hide in joints in the body. We usually have to use tetracycline, very broad spectrum antibiotic, and it's usually months of this antibiotic treatment to make sure that we've killed all the bacteria in the body. Now, the second Borrelia burgdorferi, causes Lyme disease, which we know is endemic to the New England region. So we see this here in Connecticut. So Borrelia burgdorferi spreads only specifically by ticks. And here's how this works. These deer ticks they have a very complex life cycle. In the first year, the tick picks up the Borrelia from a mouse. So mice are actually the main reservoirs of the Borrelia spirochete. The spirochete gets into the tick. The tick then goes into its second year of development. During its second year of development, the tick must affect a deer. So the deer are the main hosts for these ticks, and it's the place where these ticks can sexually reproduce. But the whole time, these ticks are carrying this spirochete with them inside of their body. The eggs of the ticks will then hatch, and they can repeat the life cycle again. Humans are accidental hosts, all right? So when a tick bites a human or a dog, okay, or a cat, then we are the accidental host, and the spirochete can then enter into the body. Now, Borrelia burgdorferi, it can also, just like the other Borrelia, it can lay dormant in the body for a long period of time. When somebody is initially infected with Borrelia, one of the key signs is what's called a bullseye rash, because it looks like a bullseye, all right? So that's one of the primary signs of a Borrelia burgdorferi infection. The second main signs is somebody will feel a fever, a headache, dizziness, things like that. From there, the Borrelia can lay dormant for a long time, affecting both nervous as well as cardiovascular tissue. So the person may have these long-term effects from the spiral. Treatment for Lyme disease, just like the other Borrelia, is going to be long-term prescription of tetracycline, very broad spectrum antibiotic. They might also prescribe amoxicillin in conjunction, because these guys can really hide out in the body.